Mrs. Hall's here and I'm going to read you another story today. Now today I'm going to read you Mrs. Armitage on Wheels by Quentin Blake. If you heard the Mr. Magnolia story that I read, it's by the same author, so his pictures are going to be beautiful in here. Really interesting and quite funny as well. He's a funny author and a funny illustrator. Now the reason I picked this story is because quite recently, especially during lockdown, I've seen lots of people out on their bicycles. I may have even seen a couple of you on your bicycles. But none of them have been as crazy and as funny as Mrs. Armitage's bicycle. So I hope you enjoy it. So Mrs. Armitage on Wheels by Quentin Blake. Mrs. Armitage was out on her bicycle. Breakspear the dog ran alongside. There she is, she looks quite happy. A hedgehog walked across the road. Tring, tring, went Mrs. Armitage on the bell. Why do you think she rang her bell? That's right, I think it's so that the hedgehog will get out the way. That's what bells are used for. What this bike needs is a really loud horn. So Mrs. Armitage bought 3 horns. They were all very loud. Beep, beep, honk, honk, ba-bee, ha-ha, went Mrs. Armitage on her horns. Very loud. I think everyone would definitely be getting out the way. Then the chain came off. By the time Mrs. Armitage had got it on again, her hands were all black and greasy. Look, there she is. She's making sure she puts it on. But of course, your chain has got oil on it. So I wonder what she's going to plan to do now. What this bike needs, said Mrs. Armitage to herself, is somewhere to wash your hands. So she got a bucket of water and a towel and a soap rack with a bar of soap, and she hung them all onto the bike. And off she went with beautifully clean hands. What this bike needs, said Mrs. Armitage to herself as she cycled along, if it's to be looked after properly, is a complete toolkit. Look at that. So she got a toolbox with spanners and screwdrivers and hammers and cans of penetrating oil, and she fixed it onto the back of her bicycle. And off she went. By now, Mrs. Armitage was beginning to think about food. What this bike needs, said Mrs. Armitage to herself, is somewhere to carry a light snack. So she got a tray for apples and bananas and cheese and tomato sandwiches, and a holder for a bottle of lemonade and a flask of cocoa, and a special basket for bones and dog biscuits for Breakspear. And she fixed them all to the bike, and off they went. It's looking quite crazy now. She's got her toolbox and her buckets and her soap dish and her 3 horns and her snacks. I'm not sure she's going to have room to even sit on it soon. But by now, Breakspear was feeling quite tired. Can you see his tongue is hanging out? He's panting. He was running alongside the bicycle, and you could tell because his tongue was hanging out and he was panting. It's just what we said, isn't it? What this bike needs, said Mrs. Armitage to herself, is something for a faithful dog to ride on. I wonder what she's going to use. So she got some iron brackets and some nuts and bolts and some cushions, and she made a seat for Breakspear, and off they went. They had stopped beside the road for some sandwiches and dog biscuits when it began to rain. Great heavens, said Mrs. Armitage. What this bike needs, Breakspear, is something to keep the rain off. So she got, how many umbrellas can you see there? That's right, 2. She got 2 umbrellas, one large, one small, and she fixed them up on the bicycle and off they went. So if you look at that bicycle now, it is starting to look a little bit crazy. But she's certainly very inventive, isn't she? Riding through the rain, Mrs. Armitage began to feel rather downhearted. If you look at that picture, why do you think Quentin Blake has used greys and blacks and gloomy colours? That's right, it's to make us realise that that's how she's feeling. Not bright and cheerful anymore. What this bike needs, said Mrs. Armitage to herself, is a bit of cheerful music. So she got a radio and a cassette player and a lot of cassettes. Now, you probably won't know what cassettes are, but back in the olden days when I was a little girl, well, actually probably a teenager too, maybe even an adult, we had cassettes. So they were little tapes which you put into a machine and press play, a bit like a DVD player, I suppose, a bit like a CD, but they became before CDs, but they were a cassette. I haven't got one to show you, as I could show you, but if you ask your grown-ups, they might be able to find a picture of one for you to see. So she's got a cassette player. There's her cassette player there. So she got a lot of cassettes of cheerful music and a mouth organ so that she could join in, and she fixed them all to the bike. And look, there she is. Mrs. Armitage was turning the pedals so fast and blowing the mouth organ so hard that soon she was nearly exhausted. What this bike needs, said Mrs. Armitage to herself, is a bit of extra oomph, so some power. Now, this is a very clever idea. She rigged up a mast and a sail, and she added a few yards of bunting and an anchor into the bargain. And there's her sail that she's put on her bike. It's looking less and less like a bicycle at the moment, I think. And there she is, look. How do you think, what would you do if you saw that cycling along the street? Might make me smile, I think. And off they went with the wind behind them, faster and faster and faster until... What do you think's going to happen with all those heavy things? That's right. Crash! Crunch, clang, clutter, thud. Oh dear, look at her beautiful bike. It's all in bits. What this bike needs, Breakspear, said Mrs. Armitage as she picked herself up from the wreckage, is taking to the dump. There she goes, she's taking it. Someone's going to take it for her. And what I need is... What do you think she's going to get instead? What could she get? Could be a car. Or can you think of any ideas? Could be a motorbike. Could be a scooter or a skateboard. Whoopee! Can you see what she's got? That's right, a pair of roller boots. What these roller skates need, said Mrs. Armitage to herself, what these roller skates need is... And there she goes again, thinking about what she can do to improve her roller skates. She really is a very creative and inventive old lady, isn't she, Mrs. Armitage? I wonder if you could draw a picture of a bicycle, and could you draw some things that you would add if it was going to be your dream bicycle? I think I would definitely have a little fridge to put some chocolate in, and I might have a nice cushion to sit on so it was comfortable, and maybe a little bit of an engine to keep me going if I got tired. What would you put on your bicycle? Have a think. Maybe you could tell a grown-up at home. Well, I really hope you enjoyed that story. I certainly enjoyed reading it to you. See you soon.